Welcome to the Hedera HashCast, episode 14. I'm your host, Warlock and Key, and we're back again with Stader Labs. How are you guys doing today?
All good. Thanks for having us again.
Now, something my audience has been dying to know is, how do you feel about anime?
Not sure I'm qualified to answer that question.
Okay. All right. I just had to throw it out there. They've been begging to know.
I did try it in undergrad. Tried watching it, but never really caught on.
We'll make a convert of you yet. We'll figure it out. So what have you, let's get right into it. What have you come to share with us today? I hear a lot of stuff's been getting ready to roll out with Stader.
Yeah. Look, so back when we started, we said, hey, this is V1. The community can only stake. Of course, there are lots of questions on why only staking, why not unstaking, and we gave those answers and why we wanted to sort of bring it out there to the market as soon as possible, and all of those kind of things. But yeah, so the good news is we're pretty much ready with V2, so people can unstake and withdraw. Right. So this functionality, which we had originally planned for July, tentatively, we're going to meet that break or sort of, be faster than our proposed deadline by at least a couple of weeks, hopefully. And we're gearing up to announce the date, towards the end of this week. And people can look forward to unstaking their HBAR X, and getting back their HBAR, seeing that, there's a greater amount that they get back. And then, hopefully we stake again.
So we're talking possibly in 2 weeks, V2 could be rolling out.
Yeah. Just fill you in. We're hoping it's a little faster than that, but yeah, in 2 weeks for sure.
How's that journey been to get to Stader V2?
Sorry, didn't quite catch the question.
How's the journey been to you into Stader V2?
Yeah, no, so I think the journey's been great, right? So there's obviously, while we were out sort of talking to you guys, talking to the users, talking to everyone, kind of getting feedback from the community, our developers were working hard backstage to kind of get everything ready for V2 itself. So, the first one when we launched, we had a little bit, of a learning curve. And we kind of did, how do we do testing on the mainnet? How do we do testnet, mainnet? What are the fee structures that we need to follow? Which accounts do we need to create, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So all of that was like setting up on a network. So all of that was done so that was a little faster for us this time. I think our team also sort of was more comfortable. So that's why we went into beta early. So we had like full beta, week odd. No real issues, all good. Now what we're doing is just testing the migration from V1 to V2. That's just to make sure that everything's buttoned up. And of course, as with everything, right? So the new code is going through security audits, and we won't launch before we have a clean bill of health from our auditors as well.
So are there other factors besides unstaking that are going to be rolled out with V2?
Yeah, there are a couple of things. We will roll out support for our second wallet, which is the Blade wallet as well. So you can connect and sort of stake with the Blade wallet as soon as V2 launches. And we're looking at, potentially having an on-ramp partner as well, just, changing the MoonPay link at the top or adding one more there, just to give people options, nothing major, right? How the unstaking is going to work, because essentially, unstaking is two workflows. So one is, unstaking, which essentially what that does is you give your HBAR X back to us. We burn those HBAR X. Now what happens is that we then, the amount of HBAR that those HBAR X is worth, we keep that aside for you, and we turn it into what we call an unstaking contract. And then you have to wait 7 days, after which you can withdraw those HBAR into your own wallet. Now that wait of 7 days is for a couple of reasons. One is, if you look at staking infrastructure across all networks, typically you have this wait period, cooling off period, so as to sync the epochs with the actual chain consensus mechanism, right? So we will ultimately sync this 7 days to 1 day, 2 day, whatever whatever the network decides in HIP 406 when protocol staking goes live. But right now, we've just kept it for 7 days, largely because we don't want to encourage, trading around the epoch time. So, we want to discourage just sort of staking just before, unstaking just after, all of those kind of things. Right. Plus, we want to encourage people to use DeFi protocols. Right. So, if you want instant liquidity, you can go to a DEX, pay a small fee, get that upfront, or you can wait for 7 days. Ultimately, if you look at staking, it's a product designed for long-term token holders, and hence we feel that for our core audience it doesn't matter. Just for reference, this period is about 3 days in Solana. It's 7 days in Binance. It's around that time in most other networks as well.
So if you guys are ready to go for unstaking in about 2 weeks, weeks, what could that mean for the potential launch date of Hedera's native staking program?
Yeah, so look, I think Hedera's native staking program has a couple of other things, and there are sort of better minds than mine working on it. So because HIP 406 will mean that you need to change the consensus mechanism a little bit as well, right? Because right now it's equal weightage of nodes, all the nodes that are there, right? And the transaction flows through them, equally. Right now, you need to add the workflows to actually do an uneven staking, so that more transactions flow through to the nodes that have more staked on them, right? Plus, if you look at the HIP 406 proposal, there are certain minimums and maximum caps for staking, right? And then there is direct and indirect. So we are kind of developing this independently of HIP 406 and protocol staking. So if you go back to one of our original points that we had discussed on the first time we were on, like if you look at staking as a whole, we're kind of building the demand side. It's like token holders. How do you interact with the chain? How do you stake? What kind of platform do you use, right? And what HIP 406 is the supply side, right? So what happens to those staked HBAR? They have to go and sit in a node somewhere, and how does the rewards flow go back? So when HIP 406 goes live, if you again recall our original architecture, which is a staking contract, the rewards contract that typically just sort of pumps in the rewards into the staking contract right now. So when HIP 406 goes live, the reward contract goes away, and our staking contract seamlessly integrates with protocol staking that is left. So all the HBAR there that is currently in the pool and that will be added will essentially go and be allocated to different nodes, right? And we will do that because, again, if you go back to what HIP 406 is, it will create an optimization problem for people to sort of optimally stake given the risk reward scenarios and the diversification you want to have.
Right. So what's the future of Stader looking like past V2? Everybody's been waiting for V2. Everybody's waiting for V2. Yeah. But what are we working on next?
Yeah, so look, I think past V2, it's about us sort of evangelizing the ecosystem, if I may say so, right? Try to get other folks to come on board and sort of help us grow this network along. So we recently started something for content creators, just a small prize weekly that we want to hand out to anybody who makes anything related to DeFi on Hedera. It doesn't have to be Stader, it doesn't have to be staking. We're not really interested in that. What we want to do is essentially go ahead and incentivize people to create content for users and for users to consume that content and hence grow the ecosystem, right? Similarly, we have something for our community champions. Hopefully, other protocols will kind of do that as well. It's invaluable, really, the amount of time, effort some of our community champions have spent just kind of educating other folks on the platform without anything, just because they felt it was the right thing to do, right? And so we want to reward that. Again, nothing major, just a small token of our appreciation. And going forward, what that also means is, more DEX pools, hopefully a lending protocol, right? So we want to attract friends that we see in other networks building some of this to come to Hedera and build here.
So this might be kind of a strange question, but, you know, besides staking HBAR, and let me know if this just makes no sense, would you ever be open to some kind of temporary staking program for some of the tokens that are being minted on the Hedera network?
That's a very interesting question, right? So essentially, if you look at how our contracts are, you know, they can potentially be used for any XYZ token, right? So we use our own contracts to stake the SD token, or at least we used to back on Terra, right? And we do that on ETH as well, right? So technically, we can sort of give that to any sort of protocol to stake their own tokens and to kind of act as their own central bank in terms of rewarding their long-term, token holders. I'm not sure whether we do that route or not, because ideally we would not want it to be on our DApp for sure, right? Because that's not something that, you know, we feel that we are completely equipped to do, because, you know, kind of having it on our DApp would be kind of associating with that token. Right, so we would probably, even if we do it, we'll probably just provide it as an API layer for somebody to integrate with.
Right, that makes sense. I was just thinking it might be fun down the line when we have our our own little stable of altcoins to maybe do some kind of fun little event or something like that.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah. So, what do you think going forward is going to be kind of your main challenge, your main goal that you're going to have to tackle?
Yeah, so I think our main goal going forward after V2 is, of course, you know, just staying abreast of all the changes that are happening, protocol staking going live, doing that, you know, bit, integrating with that. That's going to be our, you know, next big development project. But also combining with other protocols and making standards for the network, right? So if you look at the network right now, one of the missing pieces is that protocols should come together and make standards, right? So, for example, the wallets led by HashPack have been trying to make a sort of standardized connector that anybody can sort of use and connect with, and that will be incredibly helpful in getting more people on, right? So, can we make a standardized DeFi connector along with, say, Saucer or Tangent or whoever wants to build, right? So that, you know, tomorrow sort of protocol coming up, developing on Hedera, doesn't have to go through the same kind of things and can ramp up much faster, right? So I think that's where what I meant by sort of evangelizing the network, not just to users, but also to developers, and making sure that we have all the right tools in place so that somebody looking at the networks to build on, given the choices, there are plenty of them out there, picks our network.
So what I want to know, and this is just picking your brain a bit, when people they'll try to unstake, they'll start unstaking, there'll be the 7 days. After the 7 days are up, what do you anticipate? Because a lot of HBAR has been staked. Do you know what the current total is?
It's about 570 million, I think.
Yeah. So a lot of HBAR has been staked. What do you anticipate happening once they finally get that large amount of HBAR out that they've got?
Yeah, so at least internally, we've been kind of debating what will exactly happen with this. But the view that we have is essentially that a lot of people will unstake, will want to see that HBAR come back in. But hopefully after a few days, they'll just realize, hey, staking is still the best option out there. And because it's liquid staking, right? You don't need to lock in. You can use your HBAR-X in DEXs. Whoever launches will be out there. You can use your HBAR-X in other places. I know Tangent has a pool up. They made a pool of HBAR-X, HBAR. So even now you can kind of do that, right? And in talks with Saucer and all the rest of the folks as well. So so what we're hoping is kind of like a J curve, where for TVL, so where people start to kind of unstake, realize what they want, and kind of see the H bar back in their wallets, realize that this is for real, and the circle is complete now, and then they say, yeah, let's continue to stake.
I really hope that happens, because something I've been thinking about as the markets, as people started staking and the market's been taking a hit, I've been like, pretty thankful that H bar was locked up, because a lot of people are panic selling right now, and I'm worried they're going to be like, let's get out of here.
That's an interesting point, right? And it could very well happen. Look, I don't think as developers, we never predict the market. We go and build on places where we feel, there is long-term potential.
Sure.
So it could happen in the short run that J curve doesn't look like a J curve. It looks more like a cliff and then goes up again. But I think long-term, see, that's what we really like about the network, right? There's so many great companies backing this. Right, and it's not just individuals. Token holders might be individuals, right? But ultimately, if you're building a network, the real proof is in the usage, right? So I know we are just ramping up, right? But it's not just DeFi usage. It's more and more sort of different use cases that are coming on the network, and so that's what attracted us to build here, right? We said this is okay. It's not the most popular choice in the world to build on the network, but there's no logical reason not to, right? If you look at the long-term aspects of it, right? You have like 20 different use cases being done on the network right now. It's not just DeFi, right? So overall, we're pretty bullish, right? So these peaks and troughs in the markets will come, but if the network continues to perform well, which is doing admirably, I mean, we've seen it firsthand in terms of the speed and the reliability of it, right? If the network continues to do that, then there's no reason why the use cases won't come to us slowly, and more and more transactions will also be on the network.
Yeah, we've been waiting for that ramp up for a while now, and it's hard to put yourself out there and say it, but I think we're getting close. I think a lot of stuff has been building behind the scenes. Luckily, we have stuff like Stader that is out there. You can see it. You can interact with it. But I think, a lot more of those things are coming out. Yeah, Tangent launched yesterday, and Saucer Swap should be launching fairly soon. So I'm really hoping that there's, like you said, not just a DeFi wave coming, but also all these mysterious use cases that us individuals can't really see exactly what's going on, but a lot of people have been hinting towards come online soon, because it's been a little rough for Hedera recently, I'd say.
On that topic, do you anticipate that institutions will buy HBAR and potentially stake that HBAR on Stader?
Not sure, right? So I think for institutions, in our experience, there are a lot of sort of hoops to cross through before they're allowed to invest in an asset like HBAR, right? Or even allowed to invest in a protocol like Stader, right? So there is obviously the smart contract risk. Right now, most regular corporations don't know how to price that in. There's not enough sort of understanding as well as sort of insurance and all those kind of products built around it for people to have that confidence. So I think we're still a few months at least away from that happening. I wouldn't put my house on it, let me say it that way. But yeah, it's something that as the crypto ecosystem and people start to understand it more and more, right? And some of the winners become more clear. I think things will develop in that direction, and ultimately, it's capital that is sitting there that needs a house and kind of should flow to the most efficient use of it, right? So there's no reason why it shouldn't happen. But I think there's a few regulatory and just internal hurdles of how some of these big corporations work that are stopping that from happening.
Do you see another dispensation of grant money from the Hedera HBAR Foundation coming?
For rewards?
For Stader.
No, yeah. So I think from the idea of Stader was that essentially, after the first sort of grant money we'll be self-sufficient and that's why we're charging the fees that we do, and that's kind of happening, right? So we're, you saw us kind of not doing much in terms of marketing and giveaways at the start. That was just because we were kind of making sure that there's scale in the business, and we've kind of got that. So I think we've reached that stage now, and we're starting to look at more marketing channels and marketing avenues and spending the HBAR that we earn there so that the ecosystem grows, right? But in terms of the grant to users, because ultimately we kind of have to bridge this gap till protocol staking comes through, and we were hoping to have announced that by now, but I think a few more days. Hopefully we'll announce it in conjunction with the V2 announcement, or a little bit after, or a little bit before, right? But so there'll be something to kind of bridge folks till the protocol staking comes through.
Okay. So we've covered the future of Stader. Hopefully there's some more fun collabs, coming in the future. Always reach out to me. I can make a silly video with the best of them.
Yeah, we'll take you up on that.
You might not know what you're signing up for, but we'll see. You'll have that final approval. Do you think, because we've been talking about this, do you think, as far as this big avalanche, this rollout of everything, we got 6 more months to wait, 2 months to wait?
Oh, for you're saying all the use cases?
Just getting use cases and just this momentum, because I feel like we're just primed and ready, but
it's tough to say, right? Because there's lots of things moving in the markets as well, right? I mean, just if you just talk about talent, right? That's where we have our internal discussions a lot more, right? It's not a question of money or capital, but it's also a question of how do you attract the right talent to build fast and build quickly, and to make sure that things that you have in your head actually see the light of day, right? So the big challenge that I see with this is that this sort of wave of the bear market is that it might drive out a little bit of the talent, or at least it'll dry up the talent.
Oh, I think we lost him for a second. Let's see if he comes back. Well, friends, while we're waiting on his connection to stabilize, I think it might be time to check in with DPAK on who his favorite One Piece characters are, the top 5.
Hard to say, man. Too many good ones. Definitely Sanji, Zoro are up there. I like the characters that you see kind of just for a little bit, but they do play a bigger part. I got to the part where they met with Broke, I think, the skeleton dude.
Nice.
And he's really funny. I really like him a lot.
I like Brook. He's funny.
I'm at the very beginning of that though, and it's very creative how they kind of tie him in. But other than that, I mean, Luffy's cool. I mean, he does cool stuff. I wouldn't say he's like top 5 though, for me.
Makes sense. He's kind of he's more of a vehicle than a character.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think we got him back.
Is he back?
Hey guys.
He's back.
Hey, sorry, we got you.
No worries.
I'm not sure where I lost you guys. I just switched networks.
Let's see. Well, it's been I think like 2 minutes. But you did not give us your definitive answer on when we're going to start seeing the results of this wave.
Yeah. So should I just sort of repeat what I said?
Go ahead.
We'll probably have to edit that in, right? Yeah. So essentially, it's very tough to say, whether it's maybe 2 months or 6 months or a year, right? So as developers and builders, one thing that we kind of track is talent, right? And our biggest concern right now is that with this bear market and some of the things that are happening, it might drive talent away from Web3, or it might drive at least slow down the talent coming into Web3, right? Which will in turn slow down development even 12 months down the line, right? So that's our biggest sort of challenge that we deal with as builders, right? Whether it be 2 months, 6 months, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I hope it's the former. If I was a betting man, it would probably be more around the 6 to 12 range, right? Because these things take a little bit of time to sort of crystallize. And the fact that in the kind of markets we are in, it doesn't look like anybody's going to take risks anytime soon, right? So I think, it's a little bit of a headwind, so we kind of hold on tight.
Yeah, similar mind on that. Yeah, DPAK?
So just to touch on the developer portion of that, whenever Luna had collapsed, a lot of people were assuming that the talent from there would go on to other networks, and fingers crossed to Hedera. But do you think that talent pool has more likely just exited the Web3 space, or do you think like there is a good chance that talent is migrating around?
Yeah, so a lot of the talent, like, let's also sort of break this down. It's a great question, right? So you have the early sort of folks who are founders, who are early employees, right, of all of these protocols, and who are kind of building stuff right at the start, right? So they're not going anywhere. They're either going to be in the ecosystem, they're first users and then builders, right? So they're including us, right? We're building on Terra 2.0 as well. We've launched on Terra 2.0. I'm sure other folks are also launching on Terra 2.0, right? So that is not where the concern is, right? But if our concern is more sort of downstream, right? So if you look at what is needed to run a protocol, right? We're talking about, okay, core smart contract developers, right? This is what everybody kind of thinks, right? And core people who are going to design the tokenomics, design the economics around it, right? That's great. I think that's not the problem. But if you look at what is needed to run the entire business, right, which is marketers, content creators, right, you need front-end developers, you need dApp developers, you need people to think about the product, right? So all of this is not just competing in the Web3 space. You need like support services, you need HR, talent acquisition folks, you need finance. So for all of these functions, you're not just competing in the Web3 space. You're competing with the broader pool out there. And that's where my concern is, because I think there'll be a lot of talent still in the core areas of Web3 that will go nowhere, right? But that's what we've learned firsthand, is that's not enough to build a scalable business. After the first sort of thing around the protocol, you need more. You need to build that business, you need those fundamental things, and you need to kind of put structure around it. So that is where the broader concern that I have for talent is.
And I'm getting the vibe that you guys are actively looking for people, right?
Yeah, we're always looking for people. we're expanding to more chains. We'll be expanding more, right? So we're actively looking for people to kind of come on board. So if shout out to anyone who wants to work with us, either on Hedera or somewhere else, just go to our careers page and drop us a note, and we'll get in touch.
Because I know a lot of devs tune into my little my tiny little YouTube channel here, so hopefully they reach out, because there's lots of opportunities in our space to get work and start making things better.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I think that is a good stopping point. I'd like to thank Stader Labs for agreeing to be here. I really appreciate it. Now, if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Twitter at Hedera HashCast, and supporting us via Patreon or via our Patron NFTs. As a patron, you get early access to the podcast, as well as admins to a private community where I drop early info, ask for suggestions, and make jokes that you may or may not find funny. Thank you for listening and for helping to build a consensus in the Hedera community. Thank you to our patrons: ABFT, FTW, Charlie Go, Pib Chibler, and DJ.